Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success. Hello and welcome everyone to today's episode. I'm very excited to have my special guest, my co-host, Francois Lupien. Thank you for being here today.
Always a pleasure.
And we have a very special guest. Her name is Jewels Lamm. Her company is Coaching, and she is a holistic success and life coach. So welcome, Jewels. And the first thing I want to ask you is, how did you become a success and life coach? What was your journey?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me here. So yes, it's a pleasure to share my story. How did I become? Of course, life. So just followed my breadcrumbs of my soul, so to speak. And I started from yoga and personal training and nutrition, just all of that whole body experience. And then when I discovered there is also the power of the mind, and I can combine this all together, because being a perfectionist back then, I was very much identified, and also being an immigrant and coming from Russia to America. So you're just in that proving zone without even knowing. So you're trying to make it happen, because I didn't really know anybody besides my husband. But I had my American dream, and that was just to own a business. So we owned a restaurant franchise business, and that was a great learning experience that also brought me to realize that was not my dream. That was my American dream, because that's how I thought it should be done, right? But through that, I just became, or maybe I was already, that perfectionist, controlling, go-getter, ambitious, doing, so that when I started doing yoga, I was still doing yoga. So I did all the poses up and down. And then that was a Shavasana time, which is like that relaxing time, and you're supposed to be doing nothing. That was not me. I was like, nope, I don't have time for this. I pack my stuff and I would just leave the class. And that was still was happening at the fitness center. It wasn't like a yoga studio. So I didn't know what I didn't know. And I kept exploring. And then I one day went to a yoga studio, to this restorative class, which basically for 90 minutes, you do nothing.
Wow.
That was the stretch for the ambitious woman. Yes. It was very uncomfortable, but something within me was really craving it. Just, oh, that's what we need. And that's how I started to open up to more of the mindful practices, breathwork practices, and just going on that other side, and one after the other. So I just completed also 1 year program for coaching that was very profound. So we did all kinds of coaching on the emotional level and mental and subconscious and unconscious and all of it. That was amazing. Yeah, so that just helped me see how I can combine everything that I already know about the body and also the mind, and really offer that to my clients, who are those ambitious women who are so comfortable to be in their mind. They can solve problems, they can fix issues, they're known as strong and independent. But then when the time comes, how does it feel in your body? I don't know. Am I supposed to feel too? So just one of those stories. And that's what kind of I help them do, connect their mind and body so that they can use this other powerful system that they can have access to, that can help them connect with their intuition, connect with that wisdom, and also start building more trust instead of just that go do. That's kind of it. Yes.
That's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that part. And from yoga, nutrition, then all the way to the power of the mind. You said, I did not know what I did not know. And I continued exploring. And then you said something, change was uncomfortable, but I pushed through. And how interesting for each and every one of us that sometimes there's something we want to do, but it seems to be uncomfortable, but it seems that the uncomfortable is the way. But that being said, it's hard to do alone. And having people coaching us is what enables us to have that safer passage to the other side. And so now you said that you connect mind and body with the coaching and helping people doing that transition. I appreciate that. That oftentimes, all the listeners, myself included, whenever there's change, we feel uncomfortable. So we pull back instead of moving forward. And because that's the key. Someone says, I can't remember, it says, the cave you fear to enter contains the treasure you seek. So sometimes we need to get into that cave. And so it's in there. Yeah. Well,
I
thank you
love
for
that.
sharing that.
I
Yes.
love that.
Yes,
Yeah. And I go ahead.
I did use that quote, by the way. Very good. Yes.
That's great. Yeah. I think a lot of people who are listening, especially who are entrepreneurs, can understand the perfectionist part. And it is really hard to shed that because we think somewhere there is the perfect day and I can get the perfect work done. And so you grind away and try and make it happen. And then, like you said, a lot of people just let all the rest of it go, all the body part where you're holding all that tension and all that stress.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to perhaps reflect on Francois's point. Yeah, the change that brings discomfort and what stands between where we are now and that version or that goal that we're working towards is a feeling, is an emotion. And we can continue resisting it. And that's what I always tell my clients. If you have a beach ball and you're pushing it down against the water, you only can control it for so much and for so long because the body has to move the energy, because emotions is just motion and energy. No, anyway, something like that.
Energy and motion.
Energy, yes. That's why it's designed to move. But when we resist, and what resist persists, this is just physics, like it has to go somewhere. And usually body starts to speak louder. So that's why a lot of times when I get my clients, they've already been experiencing some side effects of burnout and stress and all of that. And without realizing that they haven't been paying attention to the body or really connecting them together, because you can push for so long, comes from experience. But when you really start building resiliency for that emotional processing, you're actually connecting with your body. And again, you're building that trust. And most importantly, you're building safety within your body. That's the main point. Because when I am safe to feel fear, when I am safe to feel that failure or rejection, and I know I'm okay, that's it. Like, I've got me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You can almost do anything, can't you? If you feel like I can trust myself and get through anything, then you can do anything. And it opens up the possibilities and it helps you take bigger risks in moving into directions that you really want to go.
And I think also, speaking to your point, is that because I believe that we're not just by ourselves, we have this universe that we can co-create with. That's why when we become that safe harbor, we also believe like there is also this friendly, safe, beautiful, abundant, amazing universe. And then you just start learning to surrender, like I am doing and I am being, but I'm also a part of this oneness that I can tap into and co-create, because that's how the magic happens. Like, first you want to believe in magic, and in order for us, especially ambitious women, to believe in magic, we need to learn to surrender so that we have space for the magic to show up. Otherwise, I'm everything holding here.
Seems
Yeah.
counterintuitive.
Where that discomfort comes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny you were mentioning the yoga and you had to be quiet or still and how uncomfortable that can be. But Francois and I were talking before this, and he was talking about a coach that he met, and he said when someone asks him a question, he waits 5 seconds before he answers. And so we did it, and it was so uncomfortable to wait 5 whole seconds to say anything. It's very strange.
Yes, but it's very powerful. Just like in public speaking, that's what they teach. Like that pause is so powerful. And yeah, We just went to a comedian, Jerry Seinfeld. He came to our town.
Oh,
So comedians are very good at it, right? So they just like pause, and that's that punchline coming. And everybody is just, what's next?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's
It's
brilliant,
amazing.
actually. I saw him. He's great.
You mentioned something also about the fears that we have, our feelings. Long time ago, our ancestors, so to speak, they were afraid of the saber-toothed tiger in the bush that's going to jump on them. There's no saber-toothed tiger anymore. It's just the feelings, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of not being worthy, guilt. It's those feelings that are coming at us. And let's be real, feelings are just, it's not real. We decide to make them real when we get them. If we refuse to make them real, what was that thing? It says, fear knocked at the door, faith opened, no one was there.
Yeah.
So it is something that, but again, it's easy for me to look at you and says, oh, maybe change this, change that. But for me to look at me and change, I don't see it, but you see it. Hence, we need one another to help complement and find out maybe our, and literally, our, what they call in the car when you're driving, our blind spots. We don't see,
Yeah.
but you see them, which is good. And so, talking about, and this is going to be an interesting question. I'm a man, and you ladies are women. And I married a wonderful wife. We're 33 married, 6 kids, 33 years married. And
Congratulations.
thanks. And my wife is a great organizer. Like, she organizes everything. I have men and women as clients for coaching. Let me tell you, men drag their feet way more than women. Women is like, and they make things happen way more than men. Is it possible, and maybe I'm throwing myself on the fire here, that when women come into the executive level as the people you teach, they feel that they have to prove themselves more by their actions to compete in there, where in effect, if they were just being themselves, they would outpower so many more. I'm just throwing this out for a discussion because I think it's true, but you let me know your point of view on that.
Yeah, so the way I understand your question is that if women have a more tendency to prove their worth and to prove through their actions. Yeah. And I was that organized woman before when I was proving. So is it possible? I have to say yes. Like I'm still in recovering. I have little moments, but I used to be that woman. So I was super organized. I would be like double checking everything because this is the perfectionist. So if a mistake, right? But I also had a low self-worth. And one of my wounded stories is I'm not good enough. So of course I have to prove and double prove and check, and it's never enough. That's why my husband used to say, you just finished this goal and you're already on the next one. Do you even have time to like rest or celebrate or something? No, I don't have time. It's not enough. But yes, as I've been on my journey of discovering the essence within myself and also learning to love myself and coming to accepting of who I am, and this is how it is for now, and I'm fine with that level of acceptance that comes with that unconditional love. That's what helped me transition to more of that spontaneity, because like my husband is on the other side, maybe like you are, he would be just like, oh, why planning? Let's do this. And I was again uncomfortable, like, oh, what? But what if? That fear comes up from those primal instincts, but that was my normal, and I didn't know any other way. But as I've been transitioning and also learning and then experiencing and then feeling that there is another way, now I have several neural pathways and maps that kind of remind me like, ooh, girl, you're on the other side again. What's the fear coming up, right? So, but now I'm not denying that or pushing it away. I'm bringing closer to me, and we're friends. That not good enough comes up. So now we have a board of director meetings. So I'm listening to her. There's wisdom there. That's acceptance. And when I'm accepting and I'm not fighting, she just dissolves. And that will be that moment, that space, that pause where I'm in the moment of choice. And that's where I come from, my conscious mind now, and not that fearful subconscious mind of that little girl who is just asking for attention. And this is where I just make my executive decision. This is how it's going to be. This is what we're going to get through. And it's okay. Because that's what I've also learned through the entrepreneurship, is that in entrepreneurship, it's like everything is open. There's so many possibilities. And that's what I realized one day. Whatever I decide is the right way. And there are so many right ways. It's when you're 9 to 5, then you're stuck, like this is it. But in entrepreneurship, if you don't learn to trust, to surrender, to love yourself, then you're doomed. Something is going to happen because that unconditional love, that's why it's so important. And that's the tool that I really basically use. And what I like to say, I guide my clients home to who they are, because in the essence of who we are love, freedom, and pure possibility. And that unconditional love, why it's so important, especially in our entrepreneurship journey, is that there is no agenda. And it's that unconditional acceptance. Like, it's my evolution. I'm growing. At least I'm not sitting on the couch. I'm doing things. I'm going through the mistakes. I'm learning. And also love, unconditional love, is forgiving. And essentially, that's what I'm learning. And more I forgive myself, more I accept myself, more I stay with the essence within me, more I see my clients in their power and in their essence. And that's a gift, because I'm not there to rescue them.
Yes.
Yes. Does it make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. And is it possible that when you were doing the more perfectionist way, you're not working on all cylinders? If a car has 8 cylinders, when you're only working on 4 or 5 cylinders. But then when you go the holistic part, going love and acceptance, now you're working on the 8 cylinder. You're clicking on all cylinders, and it becomes easier. Or maybe another way is you take a foot off the brake. You have a foot on the gas and on the brake. You wonder where it's not going. Get off the brake, and then the vehicle can go without wear and tear and go further away. But so that integration enables people to be, and as you say, it's holistic success. So it's from all parts. So now more of you shows up. And because of that, your presence is more powerful and more impactful.
Yes, I love that example, Francois. And that's what I call it. Yes, journey to wholeness. Yes, you're absolutely right, the way you summarized it. We have many fragmented parts of ourselves. And again, when we have a war with them, we are not empowered. Yes, we're not in a wholeness, because essentially we're not accepting who we are, because that not good enough is still part of me. And if I'm not accepting her, then I'm protecting her. And I was that protector. Yeah. That's why when you start integrating, yeah, that's a great word, you actually come to wholeness. And just like my coach liked to say, it's always that dance between our ego, which is limited self, and our essence, which is our pure possibility self. And if we dance the dance and keeping them as friends, then they become allies. Then they become my co-partners instead of my enemies that I have to protect myself from. And that's the beautiful part of that wholeness, and knowing. And again, like when I'm in my wholeness, I'm also a part of the universe, which is all around me. And that means that I am connected instead of disconnected. And when I'm connected, again, I'm empowered. So I'm a part of oneness. I'm not just by myself trying to be perfect here, which essentially I'm setting myself for failure, because I don't have anybody in my surroundings to compare myself with, which essentially, what is that perfection? It's just simply the protection mechanism from feeling not good enough. Yeah.
I love how you described all that. First of all, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm still recovering. And I love how you bring her to you when she's fighting you. And did you say you have a board meeting or an executive meeting? What did you call it?
Well, yeah, I just call them like the board meetings. Yeah, board
I love
meetings.
that.
But I have my fragmented parts coming and all the emotions because essentially, so it's like I just imagine, okay, how do I feel today? I feel frustrated. I feel angry. I feel all of that. Okay, all of it is welcome because this is how I am today. And now I just kind of in my mind sit there and okay, anger, what is there you're teaching me today? What is it that I need to know? I just go with my own dialogue. And essentially, they all have wisdom if I am willing to listen and also sit there and feel it, because there's a whole process that I take my clients and myself. And I'm still learning because, yeah, sometimes it's just, no, I'm going to feel angry. That's it. But I'm
Totally
kind
get
of
that.
consciously doing it because, as you guys probably know, because you're also in the coaching field, like all of that has some kind of secondary benefit. And hang out in that, you indulge in it, and then, okay, I'm done with it. Come here, board of directors.
I love that because it's a visual for me. Like I'm picturing this big table and these different parts of me coming, the anger part, the sad part, the insecure part. All right, come on, let's bring it. And that's how you can
Yeah.
heal it.
Yeah, and just feels fun. Yeah.
I like the courage that you display, also saying that you have your board of decision, and everybody is welcome and they all have their wisdom. This is very wise to think it this way. They can all teach you something. And so therefore, when you do that, all of a sudden, it's not threatening anymore. We're learning now, so it's not threatening. And we're learning and to grow. And then, and whenever you said before, whatever you resist persists. If you fight the anger, it's going to keep on coming. But if you try and understand it, it dissipates. And then the learning is distilled from it. But I like this thing. I have masterminds in my mind for business decisions, but I never had it for feelings. And I think it's a very good one. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, yes, you're welcome. Yeah, you have to let me know how it goes for you. Yes, because essentially we are spiritual beings who do the doing and feeling, and feelings dictate everything. Feelings dictate our actions. That's why in marketing, as we know, how do they market? They want us to feel, and when we feel, we make the actions. So that's why it's so powerful. And of course, like I come from the time of feelings are not good and you're too emotional and you should be stronger and you should be this and you should be that and whatever. But now also there is neuroscience research that has confirmed that emotion only lasts for 90 seconds if you're not stuck in a story. And if you're still feeling that anger from the situation that happened a week ago, you're not feeling the feelings, you're thinking the feelings, and you're stuck in the story that caused you to feel anger. But just as energy, just as emotion, when it's not attached to here, it's just 90 seconds. And when you start again being familiar with your emotions and doing the work and practicing, so yeah, you will experience that as well.
Awesome. I love it. So what projects are you working on right now?
I'm actually designing a breath course for stress cure because with my ambitious female high achievers, sometimes, not sometimes, but pretty much all the time in the beginning, it's hard for them to just sit in that silence and come to that quiet moment. So that's why I found the way that if we just pay attention to breathing or doing some breathing techniques like they're still doing, and there is an actual point of focus for them to focus in their body. And there are different breathing techniques. And of course, my ambitious clients don't have time. That's why breathing is accessible. And the breathing techniques that we start are very simple, but very profound. And they can literally, like I tell them, so red light, you're driving from work, this is it. So you just do your breath work, connecting with the body, noticing what you're feeling, all of that. So yeah, just a simple breath course that can be very accessible. And I don't have to spend time with them on actually teaching them breathing, which also has a lot of profound effects on nervous system, vagus nerve regulation, which is basically one of the best thing for the nervous system. It's accessible, it's easy. They're usually on board with that because they hear the messages and there is lots of science about it. And it has many other benefits. It helps you connect your mind to the body. It's also a reflection of your emotional state because, as we know, when we become in a wave of emotions, the breath is designed to calibrate to our emotional state. And more we pay attention to breath, more we can also check in. Oh, why am I so breathing like this? Oh, it's because I'm anxious. Now you can actually use the power of the breath. You don't have to go into the mind and the stories and figure it out and question all of that. Of course you can, it's a tool. You can just come with a breath and start working with the breath to slow it down, to help you calm down so that you come to that clear mind. Then you are more available. There is space. Like I always like to say, I have my model. There is space that's available for you to just look at the situation differently. And that's what I think, I guess, what the goal is, that we are trying to put that reaction on a shelf or really dissolve it into response.
Mhm.
And a response is that being responsible for how you're reacting and how you're feeling and what you want to do with that. And we want that. We all want that. But because sometimes we're stuck in a narrative, and also this is what we know, the first thing comes up, this is it.
Reaction instead of responding. Yes.
Yes, that pause is so powerful in this moment. That's why, like, if you practice breathing, that's like that opportunity to create space for the pause so that you can come into that conscious mind and respond not from that wounded place that needs protection, but from the empowered human being that you are in the essence of who you are, which is love, freedom, and pure possibility.
I love that. I love that. So I might know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyhow. If you could share one tip with the world to make it a better place, what would that be?
You
She
probably already
takes a
know
deep
that.
breath, ladies and gentlemen.
What is it?
I said she takes a deep breath.
Yes,
Before
I'm taking
answering.
deep breath. Yes, I'm practicing it. Yes. See, it's so much ingrained in me. I didn't even notice. Thank you. I'm gonna probably share a quote. This is my favorite quote, and I think it summarizes perhaps everything we've discussed today. And this is really my philosophy for coaching. And this is by Rumi, which is like ancient philosopher. But he said, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you've built against it and embrace it.
Embrace it.
And embrace it. Embrace
Wow.
those barriers, just exactly what we talked about. So, and how I understand that, just to summarize. So all those barriers that come from our limited self, that ego, and nothing is wrong with ego, but it's just that integrating right into that dance of essence. So the barriers become that perfectionism, controlling, people pleasing, and whatever else we do, right? Because we come from our little wounds and we haven't integrated them, and they just become, they basically running a life. And now we're adults and we're mature, but still that little girl who didn't get whatever she needed then, that decided that she's not enough. And that's why all those barriers that I built, like organized, rigid, basically rigid, which is that limited self. And essentially up to this point of awakening, so to speak, I was creating the best version of my limited self.
Mm.
And of course, everybody in society said, organized, perfect, successful, ambitious, you're so goal-oriented. But what was the little girl saying? But I didn't do this well enough. But no, this is not enough. No, this is what? No, I'm not even that successful. She wasn't even able to accept the compliments from the world because essentially I can only accept that from the world to the level I can accept that within myself.
Absolutely.
But for me, it
Yeah.
was not enough.
Yeah.
And essentially, that's what I do. Like I said before, I guide my clients home back to love, back to the essence of who they are as they start being like that self-critic and self-judger that all of those perfectionists and ambitious have. It starts become their loving ally.
Yeah.
And then by embracing it, that's when you can change, just like we discussed before, because
Yeah.
it's not going to help.
That's
Nice.
amazing. So, Jewels, tell us how people can reach out to you if they wanted to work with you.
Yes, thank you very much for this question and the opportunity to share where they can find me. So I shine my light on Instagram, and this is Jewels_coaching. So I have a website, jewelcoaching.com. The website does not have S, that name was taken. And so, yeah, I do offer complimentary sessions. So
Nice.
when people reach out, so they always have an opportunity to experience my coaching. And I actually coach during that session, no strings attached. Yeah, that's it.
Fantastic. We'll put those links in the show notes so people can reach out to you. This has been delightful, Jewels. The way you describe things is so fabulous. So
Thank
I'm
you.
so grateful that you were here with us, Francois. Thank you to you for being my amazing co-host as always. But yes, we really appreciate it, Jewels. So thank you for being here.
Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for inviting me. I've also had so much fun with you guys. Francois, merci beaucoup. That's it
Ça
for
fait
my
plaisir.
French.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's been a pleasure, and I'm glad that we've connected. Thank
Yeah,
you.
me too. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jewels.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.